nervous all of a sudden.
As I said, I'm the one who's new at this. All to our second Travel Like a Pro webinar series. I know so many of you are watching us either on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, and our GigSky customers, and thus you probably love to travel. You've purchased one of our eSIM travel data plans in the past, and we're like, oh my God, this is so much cheaper than roaming with my home carrier. I worked at a large telecommunications company for almost 23 years, and when I first learned what GigSky offered, I was like, this is amazing. But back to the event. So at GigSky, we of course have a really large audience of travel lovers. And I should introduce myself. I'm Stuart Chall, the head of marketing here at GigSky. And in my marketing role, myself and the GigSky team, we work with so many amazing travel creators, including the 3 who are joining us today. These creators are experts in their fields and have such an amazing wealth of travel knowledge and experiences that they share with their audiences. So we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could bring the 2 groups together, or more specifically, give our customers the chance to pick the brains of travel experts who can help make your next trip even more special. Our first Q&A last month, we actually focused on cruising, since that's one of the key offerings from GigSky that you can't get anywhere else. We had so much to cover in that session that we didn't really get to talk about all the great places that cruises stop. And as the weather gets colder and colder for so many of us, I'm up in Canada, we thought it would make sense to talk about warm weather destinations, the Caribbean, Mexico, and Central America, and make that the theme of this episode. So cruising in the Caribbean is really popular, but so is traveling directly to an island or one of those countries. And it's just a staple of getting out of the cold. Amazing beaches, amazing food and culture, and just a great opportunity to both relax and see some amazing sights. That area it's also a region where, we work really hard to provide the best options for our customers. There's almost no one else who can provide any data options in Cuba. And we've just, brought out a whole bunch of different unlimited plans across the Caribbean. So really giving you more coverage options than everyone else. But not here to talk about connectivity. Imagine an hour of that would be a little boring for most people. Today is to talk about traveling to warm weather destinations, the Caribbean, Mexico, Central America. Anything you want to know. So whether you're a seasoned traveler to the region or you've never been there before, today's experts are here to talk all about the tips and tricks that you need to know. If you'd like to ask a question to one of our experts, just add it in as a comment on the platform you are viewing, and it'll make its way here to potentially be answered. So we'll see all those questions. We've also had a number of people already submit their own questions beforehand that we'll sort of use to sort of kick things off. And lastly, before I welcome our experts, I want to give a special thanks to Dylan Dubois and my team. He's the one who set everything up today and will be helping review all the questions and comments. So he's behind the scenes and you won't see him on the main stage, but this event would not be possible without him. So I've already spoken enough. And And I'd like to just introduce today's experts. There are three folks who have been all over the Caribbean, Mexico, and Central America, and many, many other places too. But first we have Chioma Ikoku, the founder of Casa Diem Life. Chioma combines her engineering background with her passion for storytelling and photography, focusing on creating adventures anywhere and inspiring others to bridge the gap between homemaking and globetrotting. We'll learn about her unique approach to blending comfort and winter exploration. Next, we have Richard Shillington from No Pants Profits. He actually worked aboard, spent 7 years aboard Celebrity Cruises as an internet manager, and was really pivotal in launching the industry's first unlimited internet packages and mobile app. Now a travel savvy YouTuber, Richard combines his deep knowledge on cruises with practical travel advice, not just aboard ships, but across any place where they stop. So he'll be able to talk a lot about insider tips on navigating your vacation and maximizing your experience. And we also have Sia Zarabi from Hopscotch the Globe. He brings a playful perspective to travel, blending humor and wisdom from his countless adventures, whether it's training with a samurai in Japan, mastering scuba diving in Thailand, or finding the best deals across continent. He has a sixth sense for travel hacks that will leave you inspired and better equipped for your next journey. So to kick it off, I'd actually like give each of the experts a chance to introduce themselves in a little bit more detail and share with their audience how their passion for travel began. Let's start with we'll go in reverse order. Let's start with Sia.
Hey everyone, and thanks for inviting me, Stuart and Dylan, and I'm excited to talk today about the Caribbean, winter travel, and some tips and some hacks. So I started at the kind of dawn of YouTube, back in like 2007, 8, like really at the beginning of it. And it was just pure passion. It was me and my wife went to film school. We also love to travel. So we saved up our money, went to go travel, and then started filming. And we edited those together and uploaded it to the one website that kind of existed back then. That was YouTube. And over the years, we kept improving our camera gear. We kept improving our skills. We kept improving like our content. And, we did it for free, essentially, for 5 years. And then it kind of turned into a business. And my wife was able to leave her job and go full time. And then a few years later, I was able to sell my company, go full time. And, that was probably like 10 years ago now. So we've been at this like full time for 10 years. And we've been to 6 continents. I've been to over 65 countries. I'm currently in a house that we built on a mountainside in Costa Rica. And our adventure really has never stopped. You can see this Airstream that's behind me, this vintage Airstream. This is from 1976 that we completely like gutted, renovated, traveled around North America in, made a ton of content around that. And now we have it as our bedroom in this house. It's parked permanently in this house. So we're really a duo that tries to dream big and make those dreams come true, but it also comes with a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, and a lot of trial and error.
Great. Fascinating. Richard?
Yeah, so I actually, right out of college, was recruited to Stuart's actually going on the cruise ship I started up many years ago. Was recruited. I've traveled all my life as a kid because I live in South Florida, which is right now getting winter weather. I know I'm going to make some of you on this webinar very jealous. It's 70 degrees here, and we've turned off our air conditioning. But, I traveled all my life as a kid on cruises, and right out of my master's degree, I had the ability to work on ships because they were looking for someone that understood Apple technology. So it's a celebrity decided to do all kinds of Apple stuff. And, I traveled all over the world. If you know how these cruise ships work, when it's warm in the Caribbean and it's cold in Europe, they're down in the Caribbean. So really starting to understand these Caribbean ports, which are not all the same. And what happened was after I left ships, I actually left ships. I know we're not going to get too much into connectivity, but I left ships because they thought there was more than one internet. I mean, when you're the internet manager and you have to explain to people, you can't access this site unless you pay for the premium package or the streaming package or this package or other stuff like that, it kind of got crazy. And then I started a finance YouTube channel called No Pants Profits. No Pants Profits really has nothing to do in its base with cruising or anything like that. And then I went on one cruise and started breaking down the finances of cruises because I knew all the back stuff and other stuff like that. And then started that got a lot more views than the finance stuff. So I was like, let's go in there because there's a lot of people talking in an echo chamber about finance stuff. But I was talking about cruises from someone who has, I know what the markups are when you want to go out in port and you want to rent a kayak. So you're better off renting a kayak from some guy on the street than renting it. The cruise lines will try and scare you into these. If you don't get back on time, the ship's going to leave without you. But the same tour they're selling, you can book privately, and it's one of those things like that. And I like to look for the hidden destinations, like Nassau. A lot of people think it's just a flyover port you stop and get drunk at. I found some really cool stuff in Nassau very recently in my last 2 trips to Nassau. That'll be kind of cool. But yeah, it's about kind of, I'll give you an idea. When I started, I have my little Starlink here. Entire cruise ship industry had less internet amongst it than one Starlink dish can get with a battery pack nowadays. So, how things have changed when I can have a portable little dish that's more than the entire industry was when I started. So.
Yeah, that's great. Chioma?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Chioma. There's an echo here. I am the founder of Casadium Life. I started traveling when I was maybe 2 years old with my mom and my brother. My mom's a bit of a nomad, so we moved to a different country every few years, and she just took us around the world, my brother and I. So traveling's always been part of my life. It's always been a passion. And then I developed a passion for interior design. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out how to combine the two. And that's where I kind of coined the term homebodies with wanderlust, because I love being in my house. I love having a comfortable, cozy, beautiful, decorated house. I also love to travel all the time, like all the time. So I noticed that there were a lot of people who were kind of in the same situation, or people who love to travel, but maybe because of health reasons or financial reasons or just real life, they're not able to travel full time. I, for example, am not a full time travel creator. I have a very demanding corporate job. I have 2 kids who run my life. I have a husband. It's a lot going on. And I kind of created Casadium Life as a space to kind of validate everybody who just loves travel, can't do it all the time. So I make travel simpler, because the simpler it is, the more you can do it. Real practical solutions. And I also teach people how to bring travel home. So through storytelling, through photography, through interior design, how to incorporate travels into your home. So if you are just craving the Caribbean and you can't quite get there for some time, there are ways to get the essence of that Caribbean travel right in your home. So that's my whole thing.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you all very much. And now we're just going to sort of dive right in. One question, we'll just start pretty general. You're looking to get out of the cold for, this winter for a week. What's your pick on where you would recommend going and kind of why? We'll start with Sia.
I mean, I love Mexico. I love the cuisine. I love the culture, and it's not like too far away. Yeah, like anything on both coasts, honestly. Like most people go to the East Coast, but the West Coast of Mexico is more untouched and can be a little more richer in culture, and it's just, yeah, it's a little bit more fascinating, a little bit richer. So I'd probably say I'd go somewhere in in Mexico. If I was craving more of like island vibes, laid back island vibes, I'd probably go. I mean, I really do love Jamaica. Like not all inclusive, but like just I love the culture there. I love the food there. I love the music. I love the vibe. So those would probably be my two top choices.
Right, right. Richard?
I guess we're gonna go two choices. So I'll go to one that's kind of easy for people that have a week. It's actually kind of a good hack. I love cruises down to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And why that is because you can do an 8-day cruise and only, take 5 days off of work, because it'll leave on Saturday and come back on Sunday. And Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao are just so unique. A lot of people don't even know where they are. They're essentially Caribbean islands that are right above South America. Above South America, meaning like you can see South America from there, but you can get there if you want to take a cruise. You can do it without a passport because it's a closed loop cruise. So you can go with a birth certificate and things like that. But what I find so unique about Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao is that, there's wealth on those islands. So you're not going to see you're not going to see the poverty side that you'll see in some of the other islands, if that makes sense, because they are supported by the Dutch government. So there's a lot of wealth there, that there's still territories, and there's just a lot of culture there. It's kind of weird to be able to basically travel over to Amsterdam by taking a cruise down for 2 days. And why those are also perfect is because it's 2 sea days there and 2 sea days back. So yeah, you'll have 3 busy days in the beginning with Aruba, in the middle with Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, which will fall on like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but then you've got 2 sea days on each end. And then on the other spectrum, Casilla through 2, one I would say, another one is I just recently went to Hawaii on a cruise. Now, it's weird. All these cruise lines are starting to offer Hawaii cruises that are like 5 sea days there, 5 days in Hawaii, and then 5 days back. So it takes 2 weeks off of work to do those, but it's a really relaxing kind of way to do to do a vacation. So either Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao if you got 1 week, or Hawaii if you've got 2.
Cool. Gioma?
I would say if you're trying to plan a very quick getaway, I would recommend like the U.S. Virgin Islands, because there's very little prep work required for that. I do have a lot of people who are traveling with visas or just have travel restrictions, so that's always a good option. For a week though, I love Mexico. I love the food. I love the culture. There's always so much to explore. It is easy to get to. They do also take American dollars, which is something to always keep in mind. You don't have to worry about conversion rates and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I know. Can never just narrow it down to one. It's always got to be options.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Lots of great choices. So another question, just, what's sort of the one thing everyone should know that they might not think of before deciding to take a trip to one of these regions? Similar question, but just, kind of things people don't think of, but make sure you sort of keep that in mind. We'll go with the reverse this time. We'll go with Chioma again.
I would say to budget properly for these trips. I know a lot of times we talk about how inexpensive it is to travel, but a line item people tend to forget is tipping. It is a very big tipping culture down there, which is quite different from some places in Europe, which is very different from America. Well, no, it's not very different from America. But that's something always I recommend having cash on you, some small notes, and just be very generous out there, because a lot of people are making a living from tourism in these places.
Yeah. Richard?
Yeah, I want to kind of echo off what Chioma said. You want to have the smallest notes you can. You want to have 1s and 5s and stuff like that, because you're not going to get change back in US dollars. But I think the other important thing is really going off the beaten path, going past the tourist places. If it's a safe area, check with your consulate and where you're going. But most of the Caribbean is safe. You're going to get a lot more bang for your buck and a lot better experience. Going to give you an example. I'm going to stick to cruise ship base. Ask the crew members where they go and go there. Don't go where the cruise line's telling you to go. If you go to where the crew members go, one of the misnomers in Mexico is, don't drink the water. I'm sure you've all heard that before. That's one of the misnomers in Mexico. If you go where the crew go, even if it's not a cruise ship recommended or an online recommended place, they go back there week in and week out. So if they were getting sick there, they wouldn't be going back there every single week or every single 2 weeks. I think that's one of the most important things is go ask, if you're in a hotel, ask the employee in the hotel, like say you're not on a cruise ship, where do you go when you get off work? And you don't go there to bother them or anything like that. And there might be a bit of a language barrier, but that's where you're going to get the true authentic experience. Ask the people that work there or go there regularly what they do and go do that instead.
Cool. See ya?
I like both those things. And it kind of plays off what I was going to say. I'm really into being part of like the culture of a place, the customs of a place. I want to be immersed. I want to sit with a local at a bar and like get to know them. And to me, that's like a very deep, rich travel experience. It isn't just staying on a beach. It isn't just staying on a tour. So when you go to a place, I think it's very important that you do your research, something about like even tipping, like do your research so that you're with the custom of that place. You're also being polite. A lot of travelers that I see is they go to a new place and expect the same creature comforts and everything that they experience back home. And I think that's wrong. I think that's not why we travel. We're traveling to a place to be in that place, not to just have all the comforts of home. So do your research, see what the customs are of a place, and like be open-minded, be polite, like be open to the customs and the traditions of the place that you're visiting. And I guarantee you, you will make friends and you will have more fun and you will enjoy your experience that much more.
Wow. Cool. Great. You know, kind of a follow-up to that, you know, is like, yeah, for people who are like, I don't want to go to the beach, right? Or, you know, I want to do other stuff. Are there any particular places you could really recommend where there's just a great way to immerse yourself in the culture, where it's a little bit easier to do that? See, I'll let you go back again.
I mean, Richard did like nail it with like asking people where they go after work, or like repeat places. Also, just like by wandering, like get a little lost. Wander, go down a street you might like not have gone down. You'll find a little place. Go in that place. See if it's like lively. If there's lots of locals there, go in. Look at what people are eating. Order that food, right? Like get a little uncomfortable to have a more authentic experience. And those are when the best travel moments happen and the best memories are made.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any specific locations that you think kind of
specific locations?
You know, some places are probably more just all touristy, whereas, you know, where have you kind of been that, you know, whether a city or a country or something that you would kind of feel that's a good opportunity to really do that?
I've had those experiences in every place I've been.
Okay.
Because I do wander.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't have a specific place offhand, but like just that overall mentality of getting a little bit lost, like it opens you up to those fun moments.
Yeah, yeah. Chioma, any place you've been?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's similar to Sia. I have such amazing experiences wherever I go. One of the things I love to do in a new place is take a cooking class. Find a local cooking class. Sometimes they're even just families who will open their home up and teach you how to prepare a traditional meal. And I'm all about efficiency. So as you're traveling, you're skill building, you're learning something new, and it's something you get to bring home. Again, it all comes back to home, right? And I love having dinner parties. It's kind of my thing. And it's always nice to throw in a new dish that you learn to make direct from the source. So that's kind of a recommendation I have.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
Richard, anything else to add there?
So jumping off Chioma's logic about cooking classes and things like that, there's a place that if you've ever cruised, you've been to every time, because they go there every time because it's close. As you go to Nassau, and you know people have been to Nassau for years and there's a beach, there's this and that, and I've been scoping out. Nassau just rebuilt their port, and there's a shop for a hotel there, and I'm like, I started talking to the people in the shop, and then I wound up finding out about the hotel. And there's a hotel that's literally been around. It was involved in like the American Civil War and stuff like that. That's how long it's been around. And now they're doing cooking classes in there. And nobody would think in Nassau, Bahamas, the third largest wine collection in the world is in a hotel in Nassau, Bahamas. Number one's in France. Number two is in Burns Steakhouse in Tampa. And number three is in Nassau, Bahamas. So the last 2 times I've gone to Nassau, it's kind of really cool because you wouldn't think you'd go to Nassau and go to a chocolate factory and make chocolate from scratch. And you wouldn't think you'd go to Nassau and you'd blend your own wine and you'd be able to cork your own wine and label your own wine, because that's not what people think of in the Caribbean. You want to make your own wine, you're going to California or you're going somewhere like that. Having those options and look at what's in the port area, but then look deeper. And I think that's the benefit there.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Going to shift it around a little bit. Looking at the questions, maybe let's talk about booking travel. Any sort of tips and tricks you guys use for finding deals and doing things like that? Jill, I'm switching it up.
Yeah. When it comes to winter travel, especially to warmer destinations, I am a big fan of planning ahead. They do tend to have quiet seasons, but then there's a week where everything is crazy expensive because they know everyone's out of school for Christmas, or if money's not an issue for you, then go ahead and do last minute Caribbean travel. But I usually by February or March, I've booked my December trips if I am going down to one of those warmer climates.
Right. Sia?
Yeah, booking ahead is a big one. We've also been playing with like different days of the week, and we've actually found that booking a flight or a hotel on a Wednesday, surprisingly, is a little bit cheaper. And also using a VPN. Like if you search for a flight out of New York from New York, it'll be more expensive than if you say you're in London trying to book a flight out of New York. You could play with like setting your destination to different places. And it kind of tricks the booking agent and it changes the pricing on stuff. So
wow.
It's surprising, but yeah, we've found like 2 laptops beside each other showing 2 different prices because we are saying that we are in 2 different destinations. So that's a big one.
Yeah. Which countries have you found are the cheapest to be in?
South America, actually. Like if you say you're in South America and you're trying to book flights, it's generally a little bit cheaper.
Right. Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah. Richard, any thoughts on?
Yeah, so I think the important thing, and it's kind of going off what Shay almost said, is you can book winter travel around the holidays. Like something kind of what I mean by around the holidays, it's not on the holidays, but around them. Like I just traveled the first week of December, really, really cheap. If you can do the first week of December, you can do the second week of December, really, really, really cheap. You can do those. Or if you wait until literally the day after New Year's, cruises are cheap from the day after New Year's until when the first spring break starts in the US. That is the slowest season for cruises of the year. So if you have the time and you can take the time off and you want to save some money, get some deals on some of the lines, they'll throw in extra drink packages and gratuities and stuff like that. If you book between January and the first week of March, you're going to get insane deals because remember, I think the inside baseball here is the cruise ships would rather sell the cabins for next to nothing and have people on board that could potentially spend money than keep the cabin empty. So I think the most important thing, your best deals are going to come right after January. And what's happened is another thing that's happened in the last 5 years or so, you can no longer take a cruise that covers Christmas and New Year's. They cut them into 2 cruises because they know they can make more money by cutting Christmas and New Year's into 2 cruises. So you're never going to find a 7-day cruise that'll cover, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. Everyone is chopping those up into a 3 and a 4-day cruise, even if the cruise line normally does 7. So avoid those like the plague, because guess what? You're going to pay the same amount for a 3 or 4-day cruise as you are for a 7-day cruise outside of that window.
Yeah, it's fascinating. As someone who has a wife who works for a school board and can only travel during Christmas and spring break, it's very, very painful. and really, really difficult. Yeah. So, see, I know you spend a lot of time on travel hacks and something you sort of are a bit of an expert in. Anything else you can share for these regions that you think the audience would find helpful?
I mean, like loyalty points and everything is a big one. So, you know, try and stay true to like an airline, try and stay true to a brand, collect those points. And what a lot of people don't know about points is like transferring them might offer more benefit. So like transferring airline points to a hotel, and then you can book a hotel with less points for the same amount of time. I think that's a big oversight that some people don't think about.
Right. Oh, cool. And more specifically for you, Chioma, like I know you talk a lot about kind of like bridging the gap between kind of homemaking and globetrotting, I guess is a term. Do you have some good examples of stuff that you've done around that could sort of inspire people who are listening? Especially as it pertains to this region, you know, stuff you've kind of brought home.
Yeah, so
I know the cooking class, but if there's anything else or...
one thing I always talk about is bringing home collectibles. And I am very anti tchotchkes. Fridge magnets, shot glasses. I think you can do so much better for yourself. So typically what I do is if I'm decorating my house, just moved to a new house, so a lot of blank walls. But if I know that I need an art piece on a certain wall and I'm headed down to a tropical country, I keep an eye out for locally made artwork or sculptures or something to fill a space in my house that I know I'm specifically looking for. That way, it's automatically a conversation piece as opposed to a shot glass that gets put into a cupboard somewhere. So yeah, when bridging the gap between home and travel, it's not really about staying comfortable, because as Sia said earlier, the point of travel is kind of to get a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit lost. But what you do want to think about is how you're going to keep this story with you when you get back home. So you're not just waiting for your next escape, you're continuing to enjoy the trip you just took while you're at home.
Yeah, very interesting. And Richard, I know you already gave us a little bit, some ideas of your favorite islands to go to. Any others you want to kind of bring up?
Well, I mean, I love Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao. I've gone there like 3 times this season because it's easy to get to. You know, you got those 2 sea days, and I have to say, like I work remotely, so connectivity is very important for me, and you know that's finally gotten to the point where you can actually do things remotely and everything like that. But another thing I'll mention that's not really land specific, but Chioma was talking about, you know, bringing things home. I don't need to bring things home, but what I always bring home is a lot of these Caribbean islands. Here's a dirty secret: have rums you can't get exported. If you're a rum drinker, you can go to these rum factories and you can get single barrel stuff that you can't get in the States. Again, and for personal use, you can bring in a liter. One of my favorite things to bring back from the Caribbean is actually Havana Club, real Cuban Havana Club, which, yes, I know I'm not selling, guys, keeping the government off me. But, you know, if you can bring home to some friends some real Havana Club, which you're allowed to bring for personal reasons, you bring a bottle or so. That's one of my favorite tricks. You can get it in Mexico. You can get it in most of the Caribbean. And it's just not something you can get in the U.S. I know it's similar to what you were saying, Stuart, about, you know, having connectivity in Cuba now, you know, with GigSky. You're starting to get into that spectrum. But I'll tell you, rums. I love rums of the world, and the Caribbean is the most famous place in the world for rum. So everywhere I stop, Dominican Republic, you've got the Macrox. I'll throw in another country, the Macroy Rum Factory in Dominican Republic, and you can tour that place for $4. And for $4, instead of going out to a bar or something, you really won't remember the day for $4 if you do it right, and you tip right, and you'll bring home some really unique stuff.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. Yeah, I wanted to ask a question here just about a little bit for people looking to stay longer term and work in the region down there. I know, see you do that. Is there any areas you found best in terms of stable, really good internet, being affordable and things like that you can recommend?
I mean, the internet has like changed so much in just like the past few years, like with the explosion of like eSIM companies, and it's just been so much easier now. So I remember it being like such a struggle in many Caribbean countries. A lot of island countries struggle with internet connectivity. Nowadays, with Starlink and eSIMs and things being better, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's still a struggle, but I've switched from a traditional SIM to an eSIM, and it's been a big game changer for me. Like, I don't even have a SIM card in my phone now, and it's really, really helped us out no matter where we are in the world. And I think that connectivity just keeps improving every year all around the world.
Yeah, cool. I don't know if Richard or Chioma, if you've ever spent any extended times. I know.
I have not on an island. I did recently do a 6-week workation throughout Europe, and shameless plug, but GigSky was amazing because I didn't have to change my SIM card in every single country that I went to. But if you are new to workationing, if you are new to extended travel and connectivity is something you're worried about, I would start with something close to home like Puerto Rico. Their infrastructure is sound. Connectivity has rarely ever been an issue for me there. And give it a go, see what you need, and before you go out to like a further country. And it, like Alexia said, things have changed drastically in the past 5 or so years, so you shouldn't have too much of a problem when it comes to connectivity wherever you go. But if you find that you need a shared workspace or different types of amenities to help you with work, then we can get into different recommendations for places to go.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, and I think my thing on connectivity really comes down to whether you can get by with just a phone or you need a computer. Like, I know you can hotspot stuff, but what I use, honestly, is I'll use a mixture. I brought it out because I'm packing it. Like, I'm going to Las Vegas, which is not let's be very clear, is not a warm weather destination now. But whenever I go on a trip that might have, questionable Wi-Fi, you go to the Vegas hotel, I bring, a SIM card that'll work there. Plus, I mean, like, literally, this pack's like the size of a laptop. This is a Starlink Mini. This will literally work anywhere in the world, and will give you 100 megs by 50 megs down. 100 megs down by 50 megs up anywhere in the world. Now, the thing is, that's when you're permanently set up somewhere. So if you've got an Airbnb or something and you don't have stable Wi-Fi, throw that outside. And when you go out in town, you've got your SIM card on your phone. Because GigSky, I love it, but it's still it's a limited data plan. And the second you start streaming, even Saya knows this, the minute you start streaming YouTube videos on your laptop on GigSky, where are your gigabytes? They're gone. That's the reality.
Yeah.
So I think the important thing is, if you're going to be somewhere for a while and you don't want to rely on the infrastructure, have GigSky or another eSIM provider when you're in that country, and then have this thing is the size of a laptop, and you can run it on a solar panel if you wanted to. And I think it's fascinating. I was talking to Sia yesterday when we were doing our rehearsal for this, and he's actually got fiber in Costa Rica, which surprised me because I have a lot of friends in Costa Rica that don't have fiber and they've got the Starlinks. But I think for remote travel, I've not been able to spend anywhere long enough since I got it, other than on a cruise where it got confiscated. The idea is that this is unlimited. I mean, for $150 a month anywhere in the world, you just pay a little bit more if you're out at sea, but elsewise it's an unlimited connection, and it's great for a home base. Or even running inside a backpack, which I've done before when I needed to upload a video. I just keep it in my backpack, plug it into one of these batteries right here, and bam.
We'll get Elon Musk to sponsor us. Okay, so I know this has been great discussion. Some quick fire questions. Place with the best food. We'll go. Sia, your thought. Place with the best food.
Ooh, I'm a sucker for Jamaican food. Some Jamaican patties, some like curry, rice, beans. Yeah, yeah.
Chioma, you look like you're going to answer
Oh.
the same thing.
No, I love all food, but plantains, you can't go wrong. Anywhere with a good plantain dish. I love a good mofongo from Puerto Rico, but yeah, plantains.
Richard?
Bonaire. I like Dutch Caribbean food. So I'm a fan of the Dutch Caribbean food, and Bonaire has the best food culture because it's not a big city. So you can walk to everything. You can walk to the whole island and have bitterballen and fun stuff like that. That if you've never had it before, it's really unique.
Yeah, cool. Best nightlife. Sia.
Barbados.
Barbados.
Chioma?
Puerto Rico. San Juan.
Okay. Richard?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Chioma in San Juan. Now, unfortunately, when you want to cruise, the thing is you pull out at San Juan's the one we stay in the latest, so you'll stay in San Juan till 10 o'clock. So I have to somewhat consider that the best nightlife because cruises are usually gone by 5 or 6 in the afternoon.
Yeah, cool. Best beach that you've been on that you've enjoyed. Sia?
I mean, it was probably in Mexico on the East Coast. I can't recall where, but I remember just being amazed. Yeah.
Yeah. Chioma?
There is some amazing snorkeling and water activities to be done. Oh gosh. I mean, it's the Caribbean everywhere. Pretty much everywhere.
Anything stand out? Any one particular place?
I mean, the one that stands out for me was, again, it was Puerto Rico because I took my daughter, she was 4 at the time, snorkeling for the first time. So that's just a lasting memory that I have.
Yeah. Richard?
And I think for me, it would be a little bit different. I am not a beach lover per se, but I do think that the best beaches are on the cruise line's own islands when they have their, you have a defined beach day where a tender or you just walk off a pier and you get to the beach and there's no hassle to get to the beach and there's food there and there's drinks there and if you I'll tell you on Royal Caribbean and Norwegian their own companies and MSC, your drink package from the ship works on their beach. So that's the benefit. Now that's not the same for all the Carnival brands, but for all the other brands, your drink package from the ship works on their beach, so you can eat and drink for free and enjoy the beach. Well, for included, I guess free is the wrong word. For included. So those are most technically Bahamas from a technical level. But if I had to pick the best one, MSC's is probably the best of the beach locations. If you've never been to MSC's Ocean Cay Reserve, if you love beaches, MSC has their own actual private island, and everyone else's private islands are just like sections of other islands, but MSC actually bought their own island in the Bahamas called MSC Ocean Cay Reserve. That's my favorite beach.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been there. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Sort of the best region for like kind of history, for seeing history and stuff that you've been to. So yeah, like I know I've had some great pyramids in Mexico and other stuff.
Yeah, I liked so I haven't been to every single Caribbean island. But out of the ones that I have been to, I did like a history tour we did in the Dominican Republic. It was very off the beaten path, talking about pirates and talking about like old buildings and gold and, different like sugar cane that they would grow and like just a lot of, it was really fascinating to me. And it really made me kind of look around the city in a different light, right? I started imagining what it was a long time ago.
Yeah, cool. Chioma?
I was going to say Dominican Republic. There's I love pirates. I love lore. I love storytelling, and there's a lot of stories that come out of there. One of my favorite ways to go on it to learn about the history of a place is to take a ghost tour. Because you just hear all kinds of interesting stories that are kind of buried. They don't make it into the textbooks or the museums. And yeah, there's a lot from Dominican Republic.
You know, before they even started answering, I had the same answer. It's really weird that I have
Wow.
Dominican Republic as well. There's just a lot hidden there, and I think if you go on a cruise, they have they've kind of cleaned up the ports, and they've built, like, Carnival owns their own port in the Dominican Republic, and Virgin built one up in the Dominican Republic, and they have different names like Amber Cove and these other things like that. But when you get out into the actual culture, and they both said pirates, and you know what pirates love? They love rum. So the Dominican Republic sugarcane and pirates and rum culture is absolutely fascinating. It's very weird that all three of us got to that same place, but I was there too. It's a hidden culture, because if you go to a resort or you go there on a cruise ship, all you're going to see is Del Sol and Diamonds International stores built up. But you gotta verge out of that area to really see what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, cool. What would you say is the area that's the best value for money, most reasonable? Sia.
I mean, it might be Dominican as well, from my memory. Again, I also visited these places in different years.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's giving them a fair value comparison. But yeah, I'll say Dominican Republic.
Okay, great. Jonah?
It's not quite the Caribbean, but I would say Mexico. Especially if you're not in an all-inclusive, there is a lot of value for money there. The US dollar, Canadian dollars go really far in Mexico.
Right. Cool. Richard?
Yeah. I was gonna say, leave the beaten path in Mexico. Don't go to the tourist places, but leave the beaten path in Mexico. And I would tell you, one of the great things in Mexico, make sure you have a international travel credit card. My favorite, I'm just plugging it. If you happen to be a Costco member, the Costco Visa card doesn't have any international fees and has really good exchange rates. And if I think the most important thing is, if you got a SIM, you can, if you have a SIM card on your phone, you have connectivity, you can see in 3 seconds after it happens how much something actually cost you, because you see it and, oh, look, it's 800 Mexican pesos. And then you look down, you're like, oh, that's $3. Okay, cool. But I mean, like, one of the weirdest things is just how cheap things are in Mexico. If you walk into a 7-Eleven to buy something in Mexico, you could go buy a beer. And even nowadays, it's less than $1 for a beer in a 7-Eleven in Mexico. And it's something, don't go buy that same beer in the port or in a hotel, but that's, a Tecate in Mexico is less than $1 in a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to say, that's where your value goes. Leave the areas and bring small bills for sure.
And also,
or
if you want to add some value, learn some of the local lingo. You'll save money. People give you discounts if you can ask for something in that local language. I mean, a lot of these places speak a dialect of English, but in Spanish, like, learn how to ask how something costs in Spanish. Learn the numbers from like 1 to 10, right? It helps you bargain. You'll actually save money. A little bit of learning, you'll get more into the custom, and it can save you money.
Yeah. Oh, really interesting. Any areas you've been to that you've just find really expensive and maybe you wouldn't recommend?
No, I think travel can be expensive.
Yeah.
Just in general.
I'm gonna throw one out there, which is true, and it's Bimini. Bimini is incredibly expensive. If you've never been over to Bimini, it's because what happens is half of all of Bimini is owned by Resorts World. So they fix the prices, they fix the access to the beaches and all that. And in order to get out of that area, the only way to really get out of that area is you got to rent a golf cart from them to leave their compound. And Bimini really blew up because from a cruise ship perspective, Nassau is now full. So cruise ships need somewhere to go in the Bahamas. There's so many ships, and Virgin Voyages built up Bimini a lot. They built, they paid to build a nice big dock in Bimini and all that, but it's a captive audience. It's almost like going to a cruise ship private island that's run by a third party.
Yeah. Oh, very interesting. So I know that we're, we've been talking for, over 45 minutes already, and we're kind of coming to the end of the session. But one of the things I wanted to make sure each of you get a chance to do is, considering all we've talked today, and you guys are in deep with your audiences, what's kind of the number one item you get asked by your audience, just in general, as travel experts, and of course, sort of how do you answer it? So we just, I'm sure there's probably so much other stuff I could have asked you, but I just wanted to give you a chance to say, what didn't I ask you that so many people do? And what would you say? Sia?
I mean, every 5 years, I'd probably say our question changes a little bit. Lately, because we have a 6-year-old now, and we travel with her, it's a lot of questions about her and like kind of family travel, how we kind of optimize our experience traveling with her, or how we tune our travel experience to her. And it's changed a lot. Like, we did a ghost tour on a trip. I never would have done that ghost tour, but it was interesting for her, and then it became interesting for me. So a question probably I get are questions related to family travel and optimizing it for my child.
Yeah, cool. And I'm going to follow up just with respect to this region. Then, is there anything you do differently now than you did when you had now that you have a child versus when you were traveling just the two of you?
Oh yeah, I'd say with everything, almost everything. Maybe not the restaurants we go to, but like the places we stay. For sure, we're considering her in all these decisions. And like the Caribbean is an amazing place to visit with a kid. It's fascinating. There's water sports. It's like good weather. There's fresh food. I know Costa Rica is in the Caribbean, but one coast of Costa Rica is on the Caribbean. So we moved to like this region of the world because we just love it.
Yeah. Chioma, back on the questions that you get most asked by your audience.
It's very interesting. It's also about traveling with children and scheduling them, because both of my kids are now school age. So, we can't be gone just in the middle of the year. We have to travel around holidays. I get asked about getting how best to try new things for people who are just stuck in routines or stuck in their ways. And I talk a lot about taking it slow, doing it a little bit at a time. Things like eating with kids in restaurants. I'm very blessed. I have very adventurous children. They will eat just about anything. But if you or your children or anyone you're traveling with is maybe not so adventurous, I recommend very simple solutions like order something you're familiar with and a side of something new. That way you kind of get to try something new, ease into it. So a lot of my questions are around traveling with kids, and B, easing into travel as opposed to jumping into it.
Right. Cool. Great. Thank you. Richard?
I hate to play into the theme that's going here, but a lot of my questions are about connectivity, because I work remotely from ships or, wherever I am. And, I think the most important thing is the connectivity thing is, can I do this? Can I do that? People are more and more, being able to work flexibly. Like Chioma was talking about, what'd you do? You did a 6-week thing around Europe, correct? And, in Europe, there's not much block because of GDPR and stuff like that. But mysteriously, go on a cruise ship, and mysteriously, from some cruise lines, you can't access other cruise lines' websites. And one of the weirdest things is I went from a Carnival cruise to a Norwegian cruise, and I couldn't check in on my Norwegian cruise from a Carnival ship without turning on a VPN. And you're just like, why are we blocking other cruise ships? The number one question I get asked is, hey, can I do this on the cruise ship's Wi-Fi? Keeping it in relevance. So the other questions I get asked are about the drinks on board, but that's a whole nother story. But I think that's kind of the most important thing is, can I stay connected? And then the flip side, which is kind of interesting, is how do I disconnect? Because nowadays, more and more, if you go to most of these cruise ships, you have to have your phone. I hate to say I'm one of the people that caused this, because I am, but nowadays you have to have your phone to see the daily program on a lot of these ships. You've got to have your device, and it's got to be connected to the Wi-Fi, but not connected to the paid Wi-Fi, but connected to the internet in order to see that. So it's a weird double-edged sword, because half of my audience asks me how to connect, and then half of my audience asks me how to disconnect, because still the cruise lines are relying on technology too much. Like Virgin Voyages, for example, you have to book everything on your phone, and you have to book it yourself. And good luck if you don't understand technology. That's the reality. And then you have the split side with Norwegian, that their app barely works. It's kind of those interesting things. And I think another thing that a lot of people need to realize is, no matter if you take a lot of cruise ships that are out there nowadays are 20, 25-year-old ships. Yeah, you can take a 25-year-old ship, mount 12 Starlink dishes to it. That doesn't mean the internet's going to be good on it. The infrastructure inside the ship, the newer the ship, the better the connectivity. I think that's the important thing that a lot of people don't realize. And yes, every cruise ship from a large American provider in the world right now, MSC was the last one to get on board, has Starlink, but not all Starlink is created equally when they decide to sell it to you. And that's why, I think GigSky is an interesting option, because it goes beyond all that filtering. So just for you to have an option that works on the ship and in port with no filtering, I could never get away with just using GigSky, because I use way too much internet. But if I have a cruise coming up with two friends, I'm going to buy them both GigSky plans just so we can all communicate on board. So that's the reality, is because you've got to communicate.
Yeah. You're just a lot of questions around that. So really, really interesting. And where's everyone traveling to next, Sia?
I'm going to Quebec in Canada to teach my daughter how to snowboard.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Be like a winter destination. She actually doesn't remember snow. So we have to remind her what it feels like to have cold on your face.
Yeah. People who come here love it. And then after a little bit, they're like, when does this stop?
Yeah, exactly.
Joma?
Our next booked trip is to Mexico with the kids. We haven't taken them to Mexico yet. But the way we work, we probably end up doing 2 trips before we even make it to Mexico.
Yeah. Exactly. Richard, you're probably on a ship now.
No. I'm in my bunker, but I'm actually headed to a very cold Las Vegas tomorrow. And I'm okay, because last time I was in Las Vegas, it was 120 degrees. Now it's 20 degrees. But I'm going to Las Vegas to go to a casino to pick up a certificate to go on another cruise line. So yes, it's one of those things. It's hard asking what cruises cost, because I prepay in the casino. I'm one of those that I prepay in the casino. I don't know what cruises cost.
Yeah.
So and then I have for warm weather, right in the timeline, like I said, January 4th, I've got a trip down to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, and those are January 4th is like the best time to travel it. And even for last minute, there's still a lot of availability on cruises in January, because there always is. What the cruise lines do is dirty secret. About 2 weeks before, we're coming up on those 2 weeks, they'll email blast all their loyalty members super cheap cruises on those January cruises, just because they want to fill them. And you're generally just going to have it with a bunch of Florida residents that are coming down for the winter, or Canadians that are down here in Florida for the winter, snowbirds.
Yeah. That's great. So we're just about out of time, and I'm going to wrap up this event. Anyone have anything else they want to add in? I know you guys have all been talking a ton since we've started, but any last words? It was great having you all.
Yeah, I know that connectivity is important. A lot of the overall theme of this was connectivity. It can help get you places. It can help you navigate and communicate, and for safety reasons, it is very important. It also allows me to work remotely, but you're traveling to travel. Learn when to disconnect. Learn when to put it down. Learn when to not take a picture. That's also really important, to be immersed in a place and come home with more memories.
Yeah, that's great.
But still, just want to throw in, still stay connected. Just throw in a reminder that it's not about the volume of travel. It's how much meaning you can get out of it. So look for the stories, the moments, the in-between moments, and leave the shot glasses alone.
Exactly. Well, this was great. Thank you all so much. Thank you all those who joined in, and mostly thank you to our three experts, Gioma, Richard, and Sia. It was incredibly informative. I talk to so many people, and I always like, man, everyone's just traveling way more than I am. There's so many good places to go to and things we want to do. But thank you guys all so much for this. We're all very appreciative. The full video, of the webinar will be available on the platforms where we streamed it. So people who want to go back and watch it or miss part of it or want to see it, that'd be great. And guess, finally, it's, final thank you to Dylan, who is behind the scenes making this all work. And keep an eye out for our next event with a new set of travel experts. So have a good day, everyone. We will talk soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.